Hi, this is Dr. Swanberg, and we are going to talk about subject-verb agreement today. Subject-verb agreement means that we need our subjects and our verbs to behave together in particular ways. When we say that a subject must agree with a verb, that means that it must use the verb form that matches the person and number of the subject. If the subject is first person singular, like I, the verb needs to agree in person and number, I am. If a subject is third person plural, like he, then we need the verb to agree in person and number, he is. In order to agree, only one can have the S. Think of it as a couple driving. If they agree on who is driving, only one of them has the steering wheel. Still, one of them must have the steering wheel. They can't both let go. Let's take a look at this in action. It's the same with subjects and verbs. A singular noun or pronoun will need a verb with an S on the end of it. Look at the following examples and notice that when the subject has no S, then the verb does have one. When the subject does have an S, the verb does not. Again, only one of them will have the S at a time. Let's take a look at these two sentences. The cat plays with a toy, or it plays with a toy. The cat has no S, so the verb play must have one. The cat plays with a toy. The cats play with a toy. Here, the noun cats has an S, so the verb does not need one. Only the subject or the verb is going to have an S. Really, though, since we can't learn every possible subject and verb combination, we must memorize this chart. We went over this in class. It has a singular and a plural side, and it has the pronouns that can be used as subjects. I, you, he, she, and it, we, you, and they. We've conjugated one verb with each of these pronouns just so you can memorize the chart. It's the verb to be. I am, we are, you are, he, she, or it is, and they are. And you'll notice in the top left-hand corner of each box it tells you what person it is, first, second, or third, and then the left side of the chart, all those pronouns are singular, and on the right side of the chart, all of those pronouns are plural. So we need to make sure we memorize this chart. Here's the procedure for checking subject-verb agreement. First, locate your verb. Second, locate your subject. Third, pick your pronoun. That's the pronoun you're looking for on this chart. And then check your chart. Again, it's important to memorize this chart or you won't be able to consult it when you're working on a quiz. So locate your verb, locate your subject, pick your pronoun, check your chart. Let's see how this works. We pick our pronoun by identifying the appropriate subject pronoun that could substitute for your subject if your subject is not already a pronoun. Let's take these examples. If you have a sentence with the subject Martha, Jane, and I, that subject becomes we. You then look on the chart to see how we behaves. With the verb to be, we takes the word are. If you are working with a sentence that says Jeffrey and Thomas as a subject, Jeffrey and Thomas becomes they. If we are trying to find out what Jeffrey and Thomas would get for a verb, we check our chart after we have picked our pronoun. So we pick our pronoun, they, and we check our chart. They are. My book becomes it. It is. And my books are they are. Locate your verb, locate your subject, pick your pronoun, check your chart. Picking your pronoun allows you to look at any subject, whether it's a compound subject or a singular subject, and figure out how to place it on the chart and decide how the verb should behave. Next, you check your chart. You check your chart to see how this verb behaves with its subject pronoun. Most regular verbs follow the pattern of the word play on the chart below. I play, we play, you plural play, they play, but in the third person singular, he, she, or it plays with an S. We also have some others here. I am, we are, you are, they are, you are, but he, she, or it is. We can follow the verb have, I have, we have, you have, they have, he, she, or it has. It's the same with do and go. They're all the same except the third person singular, which always ends in S. Here are 5 things to look out when you're checking for subject-verb agreement and you're trying to use this process of locating your verb, locating your subject, picking your pronoun, and checking your chart. First, sometimes your subject and verb are not near each other. It can be difficult to locate your subject and your verb. It is important to find your verb first. Sometimes your subject and verb are in reverse order. That's why it's especially important to pick your verb first in case you need to look elsewhere in the sentence to find your subject at all. It's important to look for and versus or. It's important to look for words that end in one or body, like everyone or nobody. And it's important to remember that a group is treated as one unit. Let's take a look at these one thing at a time. Sometimes your subject and your verb are not near each other or are separated by modifiers or prepositional phrases, as in these 2 examples. The windows in my mother's house in the suburbs of New York City need or needs to be replaced. Here we choose need because we found our subject is windows. The windows need to be replaced. It's not New York City that needs to be replaced. It's not the suburbs that need to be replaced, or your mother or your house. It's the windows. It's important to locate that subject and your verb and then decide which one matches. Windows is a they need. The keys on the old rundown piano in the old-fashioned saloon do not work. Here we found the verb. It's easiest to find the verb because it's the one we're asking you about. And here we choose do rather than does because the keys do. They do. Remember, if it were singular, it, that's when it would end with S. But since the keys are plural, it does not end with S. Sometimes your subject and your verb are in reverse order. Find your verb first and then your subject. Again, a big tip-off as to where the verb is because it's the one where you're being asked to choose. So that's one of the reasons I ask you to find your verb first. Where is or are the science books I loaned you last week? Well, it's easy to spot the verb because it's either is or are. If we're asking ourselves what the subject is, we have to ask what is or are somewhere. It's the books. Okay? The books either are or are not on the shelf or on the table. So here we identify books as a they on our chart, and we know that they takes the word are rather than is. Let's look at another one. There need or needs to be more rules for teenagers to follow on Facebook. Here we know that our verb is need or needs because that's what we're asking to choose. What do there need or needs to be? Well, there need to be rules. So rules is our subject. Rules is plural, taking the pronoun they, so they need. Let's take a look at the next rule. Look for and versus or. A compound subject using the word and will be treated like the plural pronoun they or we, as in mother and I would be we. Mother and Jane would be they. Words like both and all also get treated as plural. However, a compound subject using or will be treated like 2 single subjects and use singular pronouns, he, she, or it. Is mother or father home would be answered by the question he is, but she is not. We also treat words like either and neither as singular. Either is a good option. Neither is appropriate. It's good to remember or, meaning that you're going to have 2 separate things. So here's my trick. When I'm trying to remember what or does to my subject-verb agreement choices, I remember the word divorce with an or in the middle. When 2 people divorce, they have to be treated as separate individuals. he is coming to your party or she is coming to your party. They are not coming together. And versus or. My sister and my mother want or wants to take me shopping for my birthday. Again, here, because it's the compound subject mother and sister, that gets a they. They want. Both of us believe that ghosts are real. I am not sure if my mother or my father wish or wishes they could get back together after their divorce. Remember the or in divorce. It's mother or father separately. He wishes or she wishes they could get back together. Neither of us believes that ghosts are real. Remember, neither and either both get treated as singular, and singular takes the S on the verb. The next rule is to remember that words that end in one or body, like anyone, nobody, somebody, everyone, or everybody, are singular. Think about this. One body is. If it ends in one or body, it behaves the way the pronoun would if you took the third person singular, which always gets is. One body is. Warning. This is one time where checking for an equivalent pronoun will not work. Do not pick a different pronoun. You already have one. Anyone, nobody, somebody, everyone, and everybody are already pronouns. Instead, whenever you see a one or a body word, just use the rule above. One body is. When you see one or body, you are going to use the choice for third person singular, like is. One body is. One body is. I don't care what everybody else is doing. You're going to stay home and study. Everyone I know wants to be successful in their business dealing. Now here we can't think just is, we have to think what the other words behave like on our chart when they look like is. And remember, all the ones in that category are the ones that end in S. Is, has, plays, and wants. So here we choose everyone I know wants to be successful in their business dealings. This is probably the trickiest rule. A group is treated as one unit, as an it. The items in a group are treated as many units, as they. Let's take a look at some examples. The deck of cards is on the table. It's the whole deck as one unit that is on the table. It would be different if I were talking about the individual cards. My cards are on the table, all 52 of them. So the deck is on the table, my cards are on the table. Let's look at another one. This set of sheets needs to be washed. Well, since it's the whole set as one unit, it's an it. It needs to be washed. But if we take the sheets separately, these sheets, those are a they. They need to be washed. These sheets need to be washed. Let's look at one more example that might be very familiar to you. The class studies conscientiously. The whole class as one unit is an it. It is my morning class. The class studies conscientiously. The class is doing well. My students in the class, all of them, always study conscientiously. My students here are a they. They study conscientiously. This is perhaps the trickiest one because it's really tempting to make the wrong choice. It's very important to be able to correctly identify your subject rather than some of the modifiers that describe the subject that might have you confused. That's the end of this presentation. Good luck on your quiz.